Hello, children. After a journey in the sea, in the last chapter, The Tsunami, we are going to take you into the sky. Today, we are going to talk about an aeroplane journey with the poet Zulfikar Ghosh. So, students, do you know who is he? Zulfikar Ghosh is a Pakistani American novelist, poet, and essayist. He was born on 13th March in 1935 in Sialkot in Pakistan. Later, he became a resident of Texas, US, where he became the citizen in 2004. His works are primarily magical realism, blending fantasy and harsh realism. His first novel, The Contradictions in 1966, explored differences between Western and Eastern attitudes and ways of life. The poem Geography Lesson is written from the perspective of a person who is observing the city from above, seeing it seated in a jet plane. As he ascends the heights in the sky, he is able to understand the real meaning of geography. It inculcates in the reader about political divisions. The poet wrote the poem that displays his concern for the divide and friction faced by man. When he observed things from the height, he could see logical development of existence. It became clear to him why the cities have taken a specific shape and development. He looked at the miniature shape of a city where a mile is reduced to inches on a scale. As he was looking it from 1,000 kilometers above. He emphasized that what looked haphazard and unplanned has a logic for its sustenance. When the poet's plane reached the height of 10,000 feet, he was able to comprehend the logic behind sitting near water. Men settled in valleys and caves in the vicinity of water resources. He reiterated that land and water attracted the man's attention for habitation. When the plane reached another 6 miles, it became obvious to the poet about the geographical condition. He understood that the earth is round, consisted of landmass and endless water. But he feels miserable at the sorry state of condition. Ill will, jealousy, barriers, borders were obvious in place of coexistence and mutual respect. Why were has built walls across cities and tried to harm others? So, this poem is all about his feelings when he sat down in a jet plane and looked down on the earth. He realized how the earth has been changing its form as he is going higher and higher. How the cities looks like, how the valleys, the entire population look like, how the earth looks like. But in the last paragraph, he has a question which he does not understand. Now, I am not going to tell you what the question is to maintain the suspense in your mind. So, students, let's read the poem. Stanza 1. When the jet sprang into the sky, it was why the city had developed the way it had. Seeing it scaled 6 inches to the mile, there seemed an inevitability about what on ground had looked haphazard, unplanned, and without style. So, the first paragraph tells us that the jet had just sprang up into the sky. It has just flown, and at this point of time, the poet could understand that the city, which looked so haphazard to him, so unplanned and disorderly to him, now he could understand that the planning of the city, where he was at a little height, he could understand why the city had been planned the way it seemed. Next, when the jet reached 10,000 feet, it was clear why the country had cities where the rivers ran and why the valleys were populated. The logic of geography, the land water attracted man, was clearly delineated when the jet reached 10,000 feet. So, here in the second paragraph, the poet is admiring the beauty of art in the sense that human who had populated the areas near the rivers and valleys had been so thickly populated, and now he can understand why and what is the reason for this. And the logic of geography says that land and water had always attracted men towards it, which means right from the ancient time, from the time when the civilization started to settle down, areas where the river was flowing, it was because of the trade as well as because of the agriculture. To grow crops, to grow food. So these motivational factors had inspired the humans to settle down at particular areas like the rivers and the valleys. And now as the plane was at about 10,000 feet high, he could understand that why the logic of geography was displayed here. When the jet rose 6 miles high, it was clear the earth was round and that it had more sea than land. But it was difficult to understand that the men on the earth found causes to hate each other, to build walls across cities, and to kill. From that height, it was not clear why. Now, what is the poet trying to tell here? The poet says that when he went a little higher, he could realize that the earth is round, that there was more water than land. Again, a logic of geography, that the earth has about 75% of water on it, right? And we all know that water is the source of life. But in the ending lines of this paragraph, the poet is expressing his worry. He says that he can understand the logic of geography. He can understand the earth is round. He can understand why the cities have been planned the way they are. There is one thing that they cannot understand. That is, why do humans hate each other? The human who have inhabited the very planet Earth, which is so beautiful, so lovely, so inducive to hold the mankind. Why humans on the planet kill each other? Why do they hate each other? Why do these boundaries between the states and the countries? Why there is war among the mankind? So, what is the theme of the poem? It is not just about the description of a journey by the poet. The underlined theme is the mindset of the humankind. When you are in a particular situation, we look at it from a particular point of view. It's a one-sided perspective. You understand the situation, what comes to your mind. But if you raise a little higher, you will find the situation from a different perspective. If you look at all the pros and cons of the situation, your thinking ability will become broad. This is what the poet wants to convey. As long as he was in the city, he found everything very unorderly, very unplanned. He did not like to stay there. But the moment he was up in the sky, he looked at the same city again. He understood why it had been so. He understood why the earth looked so beautiful. It is not your narrow mindedness. The poet tells us to come out of narrow mindedness. The poet tells us to come out of the narrow mindedness and adopt an open minded attitude towards the entire human being. Only if we be open minded, broad minded, the hatred that prevails in our society will vanish. Right? So, what is the message of the poem? Nature's message was always there and for us to see. It was written on the wings of butterflies. Mother Earth wants harmony. Right? So, the poet Zulfikar Ghosh has written the poem in a very simple language. Words are simple to understand. Poet's final thoughts from 6 miles height on the plain. He understood that the earth is round. There is more water than land on the planet Earth, but he did not understand why people find reasons to hate one another. why they killed each other, why they built walls to separate themselves from the other, why there are so much wars fought between the countries and its men. So, what is the message of the poem? What do we learn from the poem? That we should love one another. We should help one another. We should live in harmony with the people around us. Right? Humans tend to fight with one another very often. Often, conflicts arise due to conflict of ideas. Many wars have been fought all over the world on the question of ideas. We need to understand that everyone has a right to independent thinking and that we should not force our ideas on others. We should give respect to the ideas of others in order to live in harmony. So, this is the poem. That's all for today. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.